Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Ernie Singleton, and this is Sharon Nikes, and we are with the Louisiana Department of Education, and we want to welcome you all to the Financial Literacy Work Group. I am the Assistant Superintendent in the Office of Career and College Readiness, and Sharon.
I'm the Deputy Assistant Superintendent of Academic Content, just content areas and standards. That's good, Ernest. Thank you.
Thank you. And we just want to thank you all for coming this afternoon for this informal work group to provide input on the financial literacy course that will be implemented starting with our students entering grade 9 in academic year 24-25. So we will get started with, you have your agenda in front of you. We will get started with the roll call. Sharon will do so.
Dr. Paul Baker.
Here.
Patrick Bell.
Here.
Dr. Aaron Bindley. Jennifer Beninato. Here. Matt Burns. Thomas Combs. Michelle Chasson. Jedediah Collins. Ross Como. Amy Dunn. Melissa Ellinger. Barry Irwin.
Here.
Joe Gendron.
I'm here in his place, Ginger Laurent.
Thank you. Ladisha George. Laurie Gerard. Here. Darby Guillory.
Here.
Tanya Haney. Here. Mary Beth Hughes. Delania Johnson. Stephanie Johnson. Thank you. Amanda Jones. Latrenda Knighton. Here. Melissa Langlois. Janelle Leger. Here. John Martin.
Here.
Kim Ranzetta.
His proxy, Yaneli Espinal.
Thank you. Lindsay Robinson. Lisa South. Laura Smith. Cherie Terrio. Roger Vance. And Christina Zito Hebert. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Sharon. So the first thing we're going to do is review the requirements of the Act, which is Act 267 of the 2023 regular legislative session. That is actually the legislation that required this particular course to be included in our graduation requirements. And within the Act, it kind of told you, and you all have this in front of you, that it requires all students entering grade 9 to complete a personal financial literacy course. And it has to have a variety of topics integrated into the course. And you can see the required topics that are listed here. I'm not going to read them to you. I do not like when people read to me. So I'm going to give you a moment to read through this list. You also have it in your slide deck in front of you. Get your feedback on these particular topics. Now, this is in the legislation, so this will be included in the course that the students will be taking starting this coming fall. But just curious to hear your thoughts on the topics that are listed here. Any concerns with these particular topics? And, you know, there may be an opportunity to make some adjustments at some point, so we can also hear possibly what you would like to include in the future if need be. And please speak into the mic because this is being live streamed. So others that may be watching this on our YouTube channel. So please make sure we are speaking into the mic, and the light should be green on your mic if you want to speak.
I'll speak.
Thank you.
The topics seem pretty good. They don't seem, please excuse it's not a rant. It's just a, my take on this. The topics seem great. It's not a year-long course. That could be covered, frankly, in a quarter of a year, these topic list. It's not, even if you break them down and go into a little bit of depth, it seems that while, I mean, I see kids, I'm at a very high-end college preparatory independent school. They're still clueless about this stuff. And those kids, it doesn't matter. I mean, they may be taking Calculus 3 and differential equations and Intro to Philosophy and all these really nice courses, but they're still pretty clueless about this stuff. So I understand the need for it. I am concerned about the length of time required by the state to cover these topics. I don't feel that it's a one-year course level, and just asking for a little bit of thought around that.
Thank you.
I would like to second that also, because for it to be a single full year course, it just doesn't seem like there's a lot of meat to it. And for kids who are on the TOPS University diploma, they're giving up an elective spot for something that I think could probably be shrunken down into a half credit semester elective.
Thank you.
Question based on those two pieces of input.
Speak more into the mic, please.
Question based on those two pieces.
Doesn't sound like it. Is the green light on? Oh, go ahead. We'll repeat the question.
So based on this input, is there an ability to change this, or is it set as a one-year course?
Right now, it is a one-year course. So the question is there an ability to change this based on the input? Right now, it is a one-year course because that is how it is in legislation. But hearing this feedback will help us possibly change the legislation if need be. But right now, it is a one-year course.
Follow-up to that would be, and I'm not necessarily going against what was said, because I really don't know for sure. Now, based on these, first of all, it says not limited to. And secondly, I've already reviewed actually four freaking companies now. Their resources are built on a year-long course. And there's a lot more going on. So I guess what I was kind of leading to was that if we're bound to that year, I feel like most of the curriculum resources that will be available to us for all of the schools are going to give us the opportunity to fill that year, some degree of.
Yes.
I agree with that. I do think there are one-year curriculums out there, and I do think for now we're bound by the legislation. So I concur, and there are some really good ones, really good year-long curriculums.
I agree with that sentiment. I also agree that in the future, if there could be a half credit option for TOPS University students, that might be something the state wants to look at. I guess I'm a little concerned, back to the original question, whenever this says computing interest rates by various mechanisms, simple contracts. I'm wondering if in the future the legislature could be more specific about really comparing interest rates from various sources. If we think that this is really important, then I think that looking at how interest rates work with credit cards versus bank loans versus, various, I think is important part of this that I don't see being required.
Yeah, so I think, and as Mr. Vance stated also, this is not limited to, so it can be. Yes, Mr. Bell?
Yes, I'd just like to add that I'm glad that insurance is now a part of the financial literacy. Because in my work with the Department of Insurance is that we go into a lot of schools. Matter of fact, we have 13 high schools that have participated in INVEST program, which is a financial literacy program on insurance. So I'm glad to see insurance a part of it.
I wanted to just put it out there that the process for having the legislature approve this course was very hard one, and it was a really long battle to get this done. So I would be very hesitant to automatically jump to truncating the course to a one semester course. I think personally, I would advise making it much more robust than it currently is, but staying with the 1-year requirement.
Yeah, at this point, that is not what we're doing at all. And, you know, we are going to have a 1-year course. It will be a 1-credit course. Yes, I think this.
I just wanted to add, can we add to this? Because I believe the most important subject is debt and credit for the young Americans coming in and all our young students. They jump in and they don't understand how to keep their name, you know, a good standing name and what's credit and how to use debt or anything like that. I believe that's the most important subject to financial literacy for them.
Okay, thank you. As we get on to the agenda, we will talk about the course description, and we can definitely include some of that in that course description possibly, yes. Mr. Vance?
Thanks to that conversation about adding to this. You know, I just see a lot of places in here. I'm just looking at two real quickly here. When you talk about loan application, and that covers everything from auto to home mortgages to personal loans. The places down the street in the small shopping centers that say, can we get a loan right now? And going one there. And then also, when we talk about receiving inheritance and related implications, that can go very deep, and particularly in Louisiana, because my hunch is that most of the curriculum that's written is not written based on the Napoleonic Code. And I read an estate planning book years and years ago, and I was all excited about it. And as I turned to the book is valid in all states except Louisiana. So recognize where Louisiana has
Right, any other, oh, yes, sir.
Yes, I was just going to add, I actually think the way this is written with a limited number of required topics and with alongside a requirement for a year-long course is actually very empowering to the educators who will be implementing the course. Because this will give them some level of discretion in terms of additional programs they might want to integrate into the course. So it's like, these are the basics that you absolutely must require. And then I think the state could provide various curricula and other resources and programs that teachers and schools and districts can use at their discretion. And that gives us an opportunity to collect data over time to see which programs and which aspects of the curricula are making more of an impact on student achievement.
Any other comments about these particular topics? What I do want to go to next is to let you know, because some people may not know this, we do have two diploma tracks here in our state. So on our two different diploma tracks, we have the TOPS University diploma, and those students are required to take 4 different mathematics courses. So those courses are Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2. Then those students are required to take an additional math, and that additional math could be a 4th-year math course or a dual enrollment math course. And those students typically are going to one of our 2 or 4-year institutions. So this personal financial literacy course is not considered a mathematics course for students who are on the TOPS University diploma pathway. It will be it will take the place of one of the 3 electives that were previously required for those students. So now our students on the TOPS University pathway will have a reduction in the number of electives, and it will be down to 2. So, but those students who are on our TOPS Tech career diploma pathway, or what we call our Jumpstart pathway, it will be considered a mathematics course. Personal financial literacy was already an approved course on the mathematics track for that diploma pathway. So those students will be required to take Algebra 1, Geometry, Financial Literacy, then an additional 4th-year mathematics course. And that could be a dual enrollment course Those students typically will go into the workforce, or they may go to a 2 or a 4-year university or a technical college. So they have the option of going in that particular direction. So that has caused a lot of confusion from our educators and the community that they're both required, but if the student is on the TOPS university pathway, it is a standalone course that's required. If the student is on the TOPS Tech Jumpstart pathway, it is a mathematics course. Questions or concerns about that?
Quick question, not a
Yes.
concern. If a student is going out of state for college, then this is sort of irrelevant in that sense?
Not necessarily so, because they have to have it as a graduation requirement for Louisiana,
For Louisiana diploma or for a TOPS accredited diploma?
for both, for whether or not they're getting the TOPS Tech diploma or for the TOPS University diploma.
Yeah. My question was slightly different. I think maybe it's not, maybe I'm misunderstanding, but so a Louisiana diploma is a TOPS diploma?
The state diploma, the Louisiana state diploma is either the TOPS University diploma or the Jumpstart TOPS Tech
Okay, thank you.
diploma. Yes,
Maybe semantics, but just to be clear, on the TOPS University, it's not counted as a math, but it is a requirement. You can take it as an elective.
it's not an elective. We've reduced the number of electives.
Okay, that answer, you're just reducing the number. Okay.
Yes, they used to have 3 electives. Now it's 2
Yeah.
because this is taking the place of one of those elective courses.
So I have a question. So if the students are taking it to fulfill 2 separate requirement tracks, would the students who are taking it as a math, so the Jumpstart Pathway students, would that be like a math course with financial applications, like a financial algebra course, or would it still be the same personal financial literacy class that the other pathway students are going to be getting?
It will be the same course.
Got it.
So this particular slide may provide a little more clarity into how it looks. So when we think about students who are graduating, we focus on the year they entered grade 9 because we want it to be consistent for those students. So if you start over to the far right, to 2021, 2022, you can see the 4 courses that are needed for students on the TOPS University pathway: Algebra 1, Geometry, Algebra 2, 4th math course. And if you continue on the way across, all the way to 24, 25, you can see TOPS University, it stays the same throughout. But if you look at the bottom level, the second table, going back to 2021, 2022, for students who are on the TOPS Tech Career Diploma, Algebra 1, a 2nd math course, a 3rd math course, and a 4th math course. It was not prescribed at all, those other 3 math courses. In 23, 24, we required geometry. So this entering 9th graders have to have geometry as well as Algebra 1. Starting this coming fall, 24, 25, students who are on this diploma pathway needs Algebra 1, geometry, and financial literacy, and then that 4th math course. So this makes it a little bit easier for you to see.
Excuse me, what are the ramifications for universal credit for Jumpstart? Because right now, for those that are, the 21, 22, 22, 23, financial literacy can count as a math, or it can count as a universal Jumpstart. Is that going away obviously, if it's a requirement, then it couldn't count as a math and
It will go
toward
away for
universal.
those students entering in grade 9 in 24, 25. That answer your question?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions about the course sequencing? All right, so one thing that we also did as an agency is to determine who can teach this financial literacy course. So we have certification tied to particular courses. And this particular course, the course code is 160345. That it will be the course code that our schools will use for this course. And we have updated this particular certification so that anyone in the school building can teach this particular course. It is not limited to those who are math educators, those who are who are in the field of, what is that? Business education is not limited to that. So it is open to anyone in the school building to be able to teach this particular course. Any certified teacher can teach this particular course. Comments or questions about that?
Does that start with,
24, 25.
okay, clarify.
I do believe that has been updated in our system already. I'll have to check, but it will definitely be in effect for 24, 25. So a big topic is what resources are available to our systems to implement this particular course? Because it has, if you look at the legislation, if you look at that previous slide where we talked about the various topics, so what is available to our systems? What resources can they utilize to teach this course? So that is the next thing on our agenda is our financial literacy clearinghouse. And I'm gonna turn it over to Sharon.
Thank you so much, Dr. Singleton. I'd like to direct your attention to our statute that we're looking at, that revised statute 17270. That's where you were looking at the topics with Dr. Singleton. If you look under B, actually all that long list, and then there's a C at the end. Last thing after topics. This section of the statute requires LDOE to maintain a personal financial literacy instruction clearinghouse. So I just wanted to show you where that is in statute. You also have a copy of this clearinghouse in your materials. Looks like this. So you can see where it's required in statute, but then you can also see a printout of this online clearinghouse that we maintain at the department for school systems and schools and teachers to have a list of resources. Everybody find it? Perfect. So as you can see, this clearinghouse is a list of available resources. These are submitted by vendors or nonprofits. Really, any recommendation we get from stakeholders in this area, we add to the clearinghouse and make sure the resources are available in this one document, alphabetical order, easy to find with a description for, like I said, schools, school systems, teachers, anybody who's given instruction on any of these topics. We did want to clarify that this content in this clearinghouse is not the same as our instructor materials review process that you may have heard for textbooks in our core areas, our core subjects such as math, English language arts, science, or social studies. This isn't a robust review process. It's a clearinghouse. When we have stakeholders who send us information that say, here are these really great resources, let's say for insurance, right? We add them and give a description of them and publish them in our clearinghouse and make them available for our systems. Anybody that has information on anything that's missing here, or if you know other resources, you can share the stem@la.gov email address, and we will add these resources to the clearinghouse as well. I did want to give you a moment to peruse it, and then we'll open the floor for any questions or discussions about the clearinghouse. stem@la.gov. There you go. So again, this is really just, does it align to the topic? Can we find a description and we put it in? Web updates usually take about a week once we send it in. Very different from our robust instruction materials review process where we're aligning against standards. For here, we just have a list of topics. The materials do not have to cover every topic on the list. As long as they cover one, or maybe some of them do one or two or three, we add them to the clearinghouse.
I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
I noticed that some of them are free
Mhm.
and some of them do require payment. How does that work? The school would be responsible for finding a,
School, like instruction materials, their adoption is a school choice. We're a local choice. This is just readily available for folks to look through and see what are the available resources, where they are free or where they are for purchase. And school systems can make that decision themselves.
okay, great, thanks.
They tell I miss the classroom. I want to say, great question. Yes, sir. Mhm. Uh, Supplementary by topic versus covering the suite of those topics. Okay. Mhm. Again, this would be trusting the person submitting whether or not they cover the suite of topics. My team doesn't review these. We just have to go. I would say trust but verify, but we wouldn't verify. It would just be trust. Whether or not they are full curriculum. Exactly. That being said, if we do that and separate out and let's say it's not covering the suite of topics, really trust our stakeholders to reach out and let us know, and we'd be happy to bump them into another section. Or if any of these links, if you find, oh, they've updated and that link's not working, because people like to do that. If you just send us the email, we'd be glad to update the clearinghouse. Really, this has happened by word of mouth, and it's grown every year, especially with the press that this new initiative has gotten. We've gotten a whole lot more submissions. Any other questions or discussion points about the clearinghouse, the process for getting materials on the clearinghouse? So far, we've got a great suggestion to separate out from full curricula and maybe supplementary topic by topic.
Question, what needs to be included when submitting a request for something to be added to the clearinghouse?
So if there is a link to the materials, we'd love to have a link to it because show people where they're going, and then a brief description of the materials. We'll ask you for those two things.
Oh,
And then we'll run it through my team for an update on the website to that document. And like I said, the turnaround from that, once we verify the description and the link, usually takes about a week.
okay, wonderful, thanks.
I have a question.
Ma'am?
I noticed that one of these says it's geared towards students in grades 4 through 6. So would some of these others perhaps be geared toward lower grades?
Yes, the clearinghouse is for all of this information for all of K-12, not
Okay.
particular this course and the requirements. So you'll find that they might be in some grades, but when you look at that link, they'll have some elementary, but then also some secondary materials as well. But I'll write down that suggestion to specify grades for all submission too. Look at these great suggestions.
Excuse me, where is it going to be posted? Where will the clearinghouse, where will we have access to
It
it?
is currently posted. If you go to our website, there's a search bar. If you do financial literacy, you'll find that clearinghouse. This has been a requirement by statute for some years. It's just getting some attention now with our new required course as well.
And we can send out an email to this group with a link to the clearinghouse. Sometimes it's easier if you have a direct link. Yes, you have another comment?
Oh, no, good. Okay.
Since this is now going to be beginning in the fall, a required math course, could it also be in the math, K-12 math part of the website?
Well, recall that it's not a required math course for all students. It's a required math course for those students who are on the Jumpstart University pathway, but not necessarily for those students who are on the TOPS University pathway. So that's why it's not necessarily in that particular part of the website, but we can have a discussion about that, yes. Any other comments about the clearinghouse? All right, before we move on to the next thing on our agenda, I want to bring up Dr. Brumley, State Superintendent of Education. He wants to say a few words.
Hey, thank you all for being here today and participating in this important work. Last legislative session, we worked with Representative Muscarello on this particular bill. And as it worked its way through the legislative session, I found that whether you agree with this comment or not personally, legislatively, it was one of the most favorable bills in the entire legislative session. It was one of the most popular bills that the legislature heard last year. And it's consistent with what I hear from community groups and parents consistently whenever I travel the state, they'll say, well, why don't you all do a better job of? And whenever they say you all, they mean the educational system. And what they mean is preparing students for the financial decisions that they have to make once they graduate from high school. And so when you think about debit or credit or savings or insurance or contracts or checking or all of these many things that are interactions that we may make daily, weekly, monthly, yearly with a financial institution, students do not have that requisite experience right now when they graduate high school. And oftentimes that makes them subject to as prey to predators in the and I'm excited that so many of you and or your organizations or groups said, hey, I want to be a part of this. And so we're just thankful to be hosting this today to kind of get everyone's opinion on how we might make this the best that it can be. But I am optimistic that it will help students in the long run as they enter the next season of their life. So thank you all so much. And Dr. Singleton, I know I've harassed you with many emails about this financial work group and all the many people who want to participate. So thank you for leading today.
Thank you. We will move on to the next thing on the agenda. So we want to talk about the draft course description, and I'm going to turn it over to Jamie Abear, who will lead this part.
Jamie Ibarra is our director of math, I should say. She's amazing.
Thank you, Dr. Singleton, Dr. Brumley, and Sharon. Thank you. So in your packet, we have a draft course description. And for those of you who are not educators, course descriptions are a good way for us as a department to give guidance to teachers and school leaders and school systems on the decisions they need to make for course content. So as you have become aware in this meeting, that we have the revised statute that determines what material must be, but is not limited to, be included in this course. And so the course description will serve as a way to support educators in making sure they are meeting that requirement and also engaging students in a very well-meaning way. So there are a couple of resources I'd like you to refer to, and then I'm going to give you a little bit of an assignment if that's okay. So please pull out your draft course description. It looks like this. There's a little teal box. There is also your copy of the revised statute, so you can refer to the requirements. And then there is also a list of financial literacy concepts that came from another working group a couple of years back. The College Affordability Work Group put together this list of financial literacy concepts that they thought would be impactful for students. And so using those three resources, I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to read by yourselves. And if you could make some notes on the draft course description of things that you think are missing, things that you think are really important, and any questions you have about the course description itself. And then we'll talk with some shoulder partners, we'll share out your feedback, and we will actually collect these so that we can improve this course description for the students and teachers of Louisiana. So I'm going to give you a few minutes to do some reading by yourselves, and then I'll call you when it's time to talk with your shoulder partners. It's been about 5 minutes. Does anybody need a couple of more minutes to continue working? Okay, so at this time, if you wouldn't mind sharing with a neighbor or partner to consider their thoughts and your thoughts, or a small group of three. We'll give you a couple of minutes to bounce ideas off of each other, and then we'll share out our thoughts in a few minutes. Okay.
Because I know everything. My only thought was concerned with credit cards and credit scores. That's not really.
Right.
Well, I think they mean to include that under money management. 'Cause if
Yeah.
you Look at this
Oh, no.
the original thing from the
Yeah.
legislature. So principles of
Yeah.
money
It
management,
is,
spending, credit cards, credit
There you go.
scores, managing
Yeah,
debt.
yeah.
So that's, but I think
Yeah.
it needs,
I
you know,
kind of
key
fit into like
explicit's probably
budgeting,
not a bad
like making
thing. I
your
put that
personal
down
budgeting,
too.
keeping track of your expenditures.
I don't know if that's where they.
I just think some people really get stuck on it, and then unfortunately.
Financial aid, scholarship,
Yeah.
even this.
I'm gonna go ahead and get that. Print out some
Just,
checks.
you know, just helping them.
Right.
Better to teach
Yeah.
them about online.
Yeah.
School being-
Yeah, or teach them how to, teach them how to use Venmo to track.
Like
their-
buying the
their-
house.
Initially, I
You
noticed
use
they
a
had
bank, mortgage
several
company, or government loans, especially like where I'm from,
Most of the credit
in the
unions,
country, you know, there's all kind of USDA
I had
loans that you can get. Yeah, 0% or FHA for 3%. But goes to the different, but have them always, always thinking about interest, the down payment, we can go loan for 10% to a bank, a mortgage company, maybe at 5%.
Right.
Government,
Yeah, they have all
3.5%,
these
or rural loan at
90s crash.
0%.
There's all that stuff they're going, religious with sports.
Yes,
and
yes,
music,
yes.
it's like,
But just to
yeah,
give
the
them,
GSU has
yes,
been
to
going
give
in
them
on the-
understanding,
on the 90s.
there's those
Yeah,
options.
yeah.
And when it comes to investment opportunities, I think they need to teach, even though, like I said, I'm part of the fund industry, but people don't realize, people like me, they go and get funds, raise money from the state, from insurance companies, and from teachers' pension, and they invest retirement, y'all retirement into stuff. And kids need to know, about hedge funds and private equity funds and what they're doing with the capital that they raise from, especially from public institutions.
Look at it, there are a lot of aspects.
With regard to money. Not easy business.
But it might be lit, but
That's business
you know,
classes.
most people don't understand that. Cause I have a group, a financial group, and I try to raise money from the government and I try to get the teacher's pension. So I can invest it and make a profit for your return.
So, for me, I think it's like the little language.
I'm from,
really tighten this up and
Don't do that.
private sector.
For students and parents who are reading the description, like, oh, okay,
Yeah. No, I think that makes sense. I think that's a good point. Like, when I read that, I was thinking about like, sure, the way they have the track, so there's that one track that seems to be like kind of a career readiness track.
Yeah.
Like the tech, yeah, and so I think maybe that's part of why they position it that way. Yeah, yeah, 'cause we're trying to prepare you for the world of work, and then like, so these
all these
communication
things.
skills, like that you'll
some
garner in this course will still
yeah.
help you in the world of work beyond your personal finance. Doesn't necessarily like fit with what we think of
I
as a
can see
personal
why they
finance
do it
course,
for
but like,
Jumpstart in particular, but
I
when you
guess
look at
that's why
the
they included
other stuff. with
that
the-
employee like readiness component.
I think that is,
Well, there's a lot of high
that is
schools.
personal finance. I mean, I don't know about you or three.
Right.
And there's so much.
Fair
Fair amount of financial aid out there.
Right.
So when you think about like these career benefits and things with money in your job, that's more personal now than it has ever been before. So I would argue that does tuck up on the finance course, but career readiness.
Another program we use, I
Like
think
having a
we
whole
cover some of that
unit
stuff.
That's smart.
I like it too because it be a whole unit about career readiness and.
That's not really spelled out too much.
It's like negotiating your pay.
Thank you so much for your thoughtful discussion. Would anybody like to continue discussing for another few minutes?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, so like that's what I was. The purpose stuff that was missing, I know they said certain topics like reconciling, I was thinking like, there's nothing about entrepreneurship. We talk about different ways of earning income.
Very true.
I think that'd be a good topic to touch on, and kind of related to what you were talking about earlier in terms of making sure students don't fall victim to like new forms of technology. I think about like Robinhood and some of those types of trading apps, and it seems like there should be more beef to the like, how did the capital markets actually work?
Yes.
All it specified here is just what are the types of savings and investment accounts, but nothing about like, how does the stock market work?
Yes.
What are stocks versus bonds versus mutual funds? Because then that helps them in terms of like, another thing you alluded to, like, yes, well, I'm gonna have to have my 401k, when I get a job. And if I do want to get into like, quote unquote, playing the stock market, let me like be at least informed about how it actually works.
I work for
What are
Council
the
for Better Living.
different
Yeah, I like that. I
economic
think this is too
A
general,
lot of
types
education
of
stuff.
investments.
I don't know how I got at it.
But within what framework?
It is
There's a
good
whole,
stuff.
there's financial markets.
All
there's
money.
Financial markets, there's all aspects to it that this doesn't really quite get at.
Yeah, because like, because you're from Next Gen, I'm assuming, right? Okay, yeah. So then you guys cover everything.
Yeah, and the good thing about, like having the flexibility to
Like snacks.
entrepreneurship, we have all those menus, but at the end of the day, if your state says, oh, no.
I know some of these things aren't,
entrepreneurship
can be included under the umbrella, but the other thing I'm looking at some of this,
But there's some states.
car
where
loans and all that, when you're a high school kid,
Put them all in there. and
probably your first
um,
venture
But at the end of the day, with a class like this, where you're.
Right.
in, having a major.
Yeah, oh yeah,
You
absolutely.
can
Understanding
really
how that
build in all of the topics.
Yes.
You have like.
But I do like
finance,
the idea.
Or entrepreneurship, history of racism and discrimination in finance, like
But like the
all of these
project,
aspects that
that
most of the time they wouldn't put in the.
possibilities of adding things to the, not just
Yeah.
concepts, but
Exactly, yeah.
how you
it's
presenting it.
Definitely very exciting that they did it. I mean, yeah, I'm surprised people.
That project.
That's
Project
like,
based,
this is
especially
kind of like every,
role play, things like that. To me, like you get into something like that, like, okay, you're gonna be on your own. What do you-
To the tone and also was,
Right.
telling me
Buy a house, you know, buy-
yeah, sure.
So it's like, oh, well, you don't. teach, but
This is gonna take away from some of the other
To
content
really do the
that a
research
school
of
like that.
what's the prices
we
right
want
now.
to focus on, right?
Yeah.
The schools that really are the least like.
Okay, I'm gonna ask everyone to finish your thought. Thank you so much for your discussion. At this time, we're gonna share out your thoughts. Feel free to share out things that you thought and considered, and this is criticisms, strengths, things that need to be added, anything that you would like for us to include as edits to this course description. Also keep in mind that we would love to collect your copy of the draft course description so that we can have your written feedback if we don't capture all of the thoughts through this conversation. So I'm going to open it up for discussion now.
I'll just, one of the things that we agreed on, that we talked about was educational cost. That a lot of since this is a required course for all students, if it had a unit or in it about financial aid and scholarships and student loans, I think that them having that education on that would help, because there's a lot of students after they graduate, they call back to the high school because they still don't understand how, all of that works. So I think having educational, a topic on that would help.
So we looked in the resources we looked at, I haven't seen that in the.
I'm representing Next Gen Personal Finance. So as a quick plug, we have a paying for college unit as well as alternatives to four-year college. So if you wanted to teach them simultaneously, any students that are, definitely going to follow the college pathway, the paying for college unit includes FAFSA, student loans, scholarships, grants, the whole, all of that. And then also there's another unit that pairs with it for students that are like, I'm not sure college is really for me, so I'm going to just check out. Like, no, you're not. We have an entire unit called Alternatives to Four-Year College, which includes joining the military, doing an apprenticeship program, taking a gap year, so that students can see that college is one of many options, and we don't really shut anybody out from learning about what to do after high school. And that's free also at ngpf.org. ngpf.org.
Is that the one on page 3, Next Gen Personal Finance?
Yes.
One thing that I found perhaps missing, at least not explicitly stated, is utilizing online tools and financial apps. As we discussed that, we also talked about loan calculators, and then education around all of the apps that students use, like Cash App, PayPal, all of those. We don't see that explicitly anywhere, and just wanting to make sure, while some people still balance a checkbook, there are apps for that.
Secondly, I believe, so I'm here representing the Louisiana. I believe that the more educators can help things that the students are actually interested in high school, whether that's part-time work, entrepreneurial endeavors based on hobbies or things that they're already kind of doing, I think that's going to really help the students make real-world connections that will carry them into the next, phase of their lives. And I think it's going to make it more memorable. So perhaps the learning about investment, picking a couple of stocks to follow throughout the course. We discussed have some overarching projects where students either chooses or given an occupation, and they kind of follow that role of work in a simulation type of model. I think those would be very memorable building blocks for a course like this.
Just to follow up on that, there is another course that is provided through, I believe it's Pelican State Credit Union, and it's mad city money. It's a simulation where students have to go through and choose, they're given a dossier, of how much money they make and how many family members they have, and then they have to go to each station. And that has been tremendously successful. It may be something that, could be a good resource for educators moving forward, because it's very kinesthetic, hands-on.
We collaborate on things before too, so anyway, either one I think would be great.
Back Christina up on the identity theft piece. I'd like to back Christina up on the identity theft piece. I do a lot of basic banking, budgeting, savings, and credit presentations to high school juniors and seniors specifically. And one of the things I always ask is how many of you have your social security card on you? You'd be surprised how many of them do. In today's world of Zelle, Venmo, social media, it's a scary place out there. And the one thing I make sure I try to do is help them understand when you use the Zelle app, cash, et cetera, they have access to all your information. You have to protect that. So the other thing I want to say is the introduction to students is really important. Getting them comfortable straight out of the gate is such a critical piece of having that conversation and getting them comfortable and getting to that confident stage where they feel like they can ask you any question whatsoever. So I want to keep that in mind as well. The introduction piece is really important.
Oh, I was just going to add to some of the comments that were made earlier, like in terms about experiential learning opportunities, and the course here not necessarily having a requirement to teach kids about how the capital markets work. The SIFMA Foundation, who's on the clearinghouse, we have a stock market game. It's a free program that does take kids through that experience of learning how the markets work. They get to invest in real assets at real-time pricing. And there's a curriculum that goes along with it so that they're like prepared for these apps that you just mentioned, sir, like the Robin Hoods when they see these viral videos on social media about GameStop and such. This is an educational program that helps prepare them to make responsible decisions if they do want to start entering the capital markets.
And I just want to add that one of the things that enhances the learning experience is when you have individuals from industry to actually go into the classroom to talk. Like my friend over here, Thomas, I go into the classrooms quite a bit talking about insurance, and that enhances the experience. And so we have a list of volunteers that are willing to go into the classroom. So we can always help any school that wants to have speakers to come in.
We have 10 high schools, and so if we've got financial literacy going to every kid sometime throughout their high school career, the logistics of that are going to be pretty complicated. Of course, in a larger metropolitan area, you should have greater resources. So any kind of guidance we could get at the district level on enlisting those volunteers, just the logistics behind that would be really
Yeah.
Because if you think about if I'm a teacher and I've got 6 periods in the course of the day on financial literacy, financial math, and then we've got 10 other high schools in the same situation. Some schools may end up having 2 teachers teaching this. To have volunteers coming into that schedule is going to get pretty complicated.
Well, actually, prior to the pandemic, we had 13 high schools across the state that participated in the INVEST program. And we have a set of volunteers that went to every school. You know, that's how supportive they were of the program. But we have individuals such as agents and company reps across the state that'll be willing to participate. All we have to do is just reach out.
People like will be there for an entire day to hit every.
Oh, yeah, sure. You know, and I've done it myself. You know, my staff and we've done it ourselves.
And to answer that, Patrick's right. We have staff that we spend the whole day there. And I've seen EverFi in play. It's a great product, but not everybody goes through it. And it's not the same as engaging. And that's the key, is engaging, making sure that the students understand, and that if you have to replay it 1 or 2 times,
till they get, that's great. And then give them the resources to go home, not overcomplicate it. But yeah, the class experience is important. And, the one thing that I've found this year is that your math class, your financial literacy class gets it, and we'll go through the whole session. But we might have 400 students at that high school and only get to 125. The key is getting to the rest of them.
And I can add to that too. I'm with the Louisiana Bankers Association. The Credit Union League also would be able to provide you connections with bankers all over the state.
I would count all of these experiences as instructional materials. You are providing valuable instruction. So if y'all would contact us, we'll put the email at the end of the slide deck. We'll be happy to add you as part of the clearinghouse, that contact information, and maybe under the description, contact these folks for volunteers to go and speak at schools and school systems. And that way it would be one shop for folks like Mr. Vance to find you. So I think that's a great idea.
And that was what I was going to follow up with, because on the second page, it does talk about that, here's some suggested approaches, which when you've got anyone at a school site that could be teaching this, they may have different resources, different things that they as an individual are used to. And if you make this too narrow, then it may create an issue with educating our kids with what we really want them to learn. So I feel like there are a few things that would be beneficial to add at the front, like along the completing a loan application, maybe some specific types of loans that would be recommended, because some teachers, without being explicit, if you just said complete a loan application, they would do one and move on. But as we talked about, a student loan is something that probably most of these students are going to encounter first. And so, but there are other loans that they need to be exposed to. So I just think that there are a few areas that would be beneficial to have some of the specifics bulleted or, sub-bulleted under the topics, but an emphasis placed on the second page that you do have resources there in that clearinghouse, and to make sure that you're referring to it.
I think our group really seconds the idea of that, the second page, just talking about the instructional approach. But there were a few things that we took from the college affordability work group sheet that we felt like perhaps should be moved up to the another bullet point for credit or credit/consequences, and then also predatory lending. So those aren't clearly delineated on the first page. Predatory lending. Was there anything else, lady?
I actually know the second bullet point on the first page, I think that needs to be expanded upon, and it may just be sub-bullet point. According to number two, it actually lists out in terms of money management, spending credit, credit scores, managing debt, and including retail credit and credit card debt. Things get to that.
To add to that, my partner actually suggested that it would be wise to put all of the wording from the statute as the topics and not abbreviate any of them.
I don't know how much you all are wanting to stay close to the college affordability work group agenda. There were a few items on there, though, that we felt maybe would not best be transferred. So the first part of it is under employment on the second page. The career planning and interview skills and writing a resume, we felt like while there's certainly benefit in those topics, they didn't necessarily align as closely. We did feel like the benefits portion of it was very applicable, so perhaps that could stay in. And then the other concern, which I think is very valid, was also about number 5 under debt management. where it gives credit counseling and debt consolidation. Um, would you like to explain that better, Ms. Robinson?
Since you put me on the spot, it's just to be cautious when using credit counseling because they can be expensive and sometimes not as effective as we'd like them to be. So to teach prevention versus usage of that.
We did like the additional information that you have on this document, the work group document, and thought that that could be helpful with the draft description too, because types of financial institutions and the products they offer, or like in the money management piece, you know, budgeting, credit scoring, just give a little bit more guidance on what it, or a definition of what it means.
Okay, if there are no more comments and you have notes that you would like for us to review, we ask that you please hold up your course description. Me and a member of my team will come around and collect those. Thank you so much for your conversations today.
Thank you very much, Jamie.
STEM at LA. Oh, Jamie.
Or you can, if you send to this stem@la.gov, it will get to Jamie.
Did anyone else need to provide their feedback to Jamie? Oh, there's one more. So that was the last topic on our agenda. We know that that was not very long, but we want to thank you all for the feedback that you have provided. And the email address, if you want to provide additional comments, is stem@la.gov. We do have people that joined us on the live stream, as this was live stream, which is why we asked that you all speak into the mic so that those individuals could hear what was being said. We got to figure out what's going on with this mic over here for next time, for anybody who uses this system. And so if those people who are watching us via the live stream, if you have comments or questions or concerns that you want to provide feedback as well, please send that to stem@la.gov. That will, a lot of people think, oh, those generic emails, they never go to anybody. Yes, they do. I promise you they do. We do answer those particular emails. And so just know that if you send any kind of comments or questions to stem@la.gov, many of you all have reached out to me via my personal email address here at the department, or highschoolacademics@la.gov. I'm the head behind there as well. So please make sure you send those back. We will take this information. We may be reaching out to you again to get additional feedback on what we have drafted based on your feedback today. We will get the updates to the clearinghouse. We will make sure to email a link to the clearinghouse as well. And so there may be, you know, additional times that we may need to reach out to you to provide some feedback on all that has taken place this afternoon or in the coming days. I think you have a question or a comment.
Yes, I do. My comments and questions didn't pertain to any other page, so I wanted
Okay.
to stay in my lane. But I serve on the non-public council that advises Betsy, so that is why I was asked to join this. And originally, when the course was presented to us, immediately I said, well, what about the 4 years of theology and the number of credits students have? And there was kind of the hush that went around the room, and then no one ever got back to us about that. And this is the impact that this has on faith-based schools. So, but I want to start with questions because maybe this has been solved, but this information wasn't given to us. The original legislation, was it written only for public schools? We were told yes, and then the reason it crossed portals was because TOPS then required it, which affects our students, the 85–90% that receive TOPS. It
I
just
don't
said
believe, I believe it's
schools.
for schools. I
It just
didn't,
said schools, okay. And anywhere in the legislation, is it mandated that it has to be taken in the junior or senior year only?
it is not.
It is not. Great. Is there the possibility for students to take a competency exam for credit?
Yes,
Are students allowed to take it online?
take what online?
Like the financial literacy course, if there is an online course and they could take that over the summer, is that an option?
It would have to meet the requirements of the course,
Okay.
which is the legislation
All
that
right.
has been.
Can it be taught at the 8th grade level?
Yes,
Yes, okay. And this is just to do the math, and if you're involved in the education world and scheduling, you see where this is going. Our students need 4 years of English, 4 years of math, 4 years of science, 4 years of social studies, for us, 4 years of theology. Now, church history is allowed to count as one of those social studies courses. 2 years of foreign language, 2 years of PE and health, a fine arts survey course. So for our students who are enrolled in band for 4 years, they're already at 28 credits. 7 units a year times 4. We have a 7-period day. So just this one course prevents them from taking a 3rd or 4th year of a foreign language, which they need to get into some universities, or a conditioning class if they're an athlete and a band student. We also have a resource program that serves 165 students who have any type of learning difference. Some of them take a course called Study Skills during the day too, which is a lifeline. And so for the first time ever, we have no freshmen enrolled in that next year because they're already looking ahead what this course does. So the competency exam would help, or possibly online, but I guess in the future, anytime there's, and it's a great idea, nobody is questioning that, you know, we have a life skills elective course that seniors take, and it is so valuable, and many of these topics are there. But anytime there's a full year course like that with the faith-based schools that have theology, and it's the reason for our existence. So we can't say you don't have to take theology 1 year. It prevents students, and our top students too would not be able to take AP chemistry, AP psychology, because that's their 5th science. Or so we'd really like for somebody maybe to meet with us. I don't think we've ever had anybody come to the non-public council. Dr. Baker's on the council as well, just to address how this will fit into a student's 4-year plan.
okay, thank
Okay?
you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments for the good of the order? All right, hearing none, we just want to again thank you all for coming out and taking the time to provide input on this valuable information as we move forward to provide this particular course to our students across the state. As we know that this is important to you all, it's important to us. Our legislature saw that the need for this particular course, which is why it is, you know, being brought to you all. And we will be reaching back out to you with additional information that we have gathered from you all today. Thank you.
Good meeting you. So
It's nice to meet you.
Next, the policy work to get these laws passed. Louisiana, they help get this passed last year?
Where they're going to go, just kind of talk
We'll
about
talk
this.
through.
Oh.
Not yours. But can you get this? I think it's getting this.
Here it is right here.
Gotcha, right.
Basement
I
club.
know that,
Yeah.
yeah, because you all were doing the work in
Yeah.
Connecticut.
And I want to
Yes,
hear
you
you.
Right.
did too.
But I think.
Man, last year we looked at a lot we did here last.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, 2023 was so many states.
It says
Yeah.
that a student. And that's what I was gonna work on. Like, I was like, it's going to be hands down 2023.
Yeah, yeah.
And this year we are active in 10 states. Right now, working on